Aloha mai kako. Today we're going to be talking with two farmers and two artists that were paired in the current exhibition, Kona People. They'll be sharing stories, lessons learned from the āina, and what it was like to participate in this project. We're so grateful for them, for their time to share these stories, and we hope you enjoy this video. Mahalo.
My name's Misa Maruyama Jones, and we have a moringa farm, my husband and I. It's a family farm, so we grow kalamungai, but also turf grass and organically processed compost. And let's see, I'm a Kona girl. I was raised here. Went to the mainland for a long time, long enough to realize that this is where I need to be. And yeah, my husband Jeff and I have been farming for about 5 years now. Our family has been there for about 15.
Oh, my name is Brandon Reis. I'm a local photographer. I wasn't born here on the island. I was born on the mainland, on the East Coast, but have been living on the Big Island this time for about 3.5 years. I work primarily with photography. I do other types of art as well, but primarily work through photography, through film, and specifically for this project, I work using coffee. Yeah, I just think this is a great opportunity for me to be able to connect with local land stewards like Misa and her family, to be able to bring about the story of the importance of farming in Kona and the people behind the scenes, and yeah, it's been a dream come true.
I think what inspires me most is when we hear from the people who are actually taking the kalamungai, because it's such a beautiful thing to see something that grows from the ground to, you know, to see it actually help people, whether they're talking about having more energy or dealing with things like diabetes. Right now, especially with the pandemic, I feel like so many people are like undernourished and overwhelmed, fatigued. And so to just try to be like a small part of making them feel a little bit of wellness, it always makes us realize, wow, okay, this is definitely a privilege to be able to witness this going from this plant to these people.
Absolutely. And to be a part of the process of like being able to create that for people too, you know, like otherwise it wouldn't exist without farmers like you, right?
Yeah, I thank you for that.
Yeah,
I feel like it is. It's a privilege to be like able to put our hands into that process. And I feel like the plant is just waiting for the benefits to be shared. So it's just, I feel a lot of times like we're just a link in that chain.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think through the whole process from speaking with you, Mina, all the way to like our discussions, I think the one thing I learned most about this, what surprised me most about this process was just how quickly folks in our community could understand where we're coming from. And I felt like it was just an instant understanding and feeling seen, which was a little bit surprising. Because in talking to Mina before we met you, I was like, you know, we're talking about art and farming. And I was like, it's beautiful how you're creating this project that bridges the two, because one is in the dirt, and the other is, you know, it's sophisticated. So it feels like a juxtaposition, but I think feeling so understood made me sort of reflect on what it is that's something that draws the two together.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think kind of just condensing what you were saying, I think these are the opportunities where we see where like things that we think are juxtapositions are really actually the same thing. You know, like nature and art are actually almost one and the same. It's just different representations. Like one is very much our interpretation and, you know, our perspective on what we're experiencing as human beings. But nature itself is also expressing itself in many ways, partially due to how we interact with it, but just partially in general how nature behaves. And so sometimes, and I think what's really beautiful in working with you guys and working with film, especially here, is being able to be very connected to that work, not just in a physical way, but in a very spiritual way that kind of transcends, where I think art and nature sort of both have that element, if that makes sense. No, I wouldn't say that I was like surprised. I was pleasantly confirmed. Yeah, like I had very sort of specific expectations of what I thought this was going to be like. And I mean, you guys exceeded that, and the other family that I spent time with too, really exceeded that in their willingness and their openness to, because I think it is weird. I mean, when I first reached out to everybody, it was like, hey, you never heard of me before, but can I come over your house and like take your picture? And I don't know, maybe that can be weird. But for you guys and for the other family, it was like, oh, like, come on by, like, whenever you know, and we were there, and it just felt very natural. And so, like I said, I wouldn't say that I was very surprised by that, but I was.
It did feel really natural. When you came by, it just felt like just like we had a friend over.
Absolutely.
But I think that's partially because you're so good at what you do.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. And I really do think it has a lot to do, you know, artists and stewards we're doing the same work. You know, like our job is to nurture. I mean, obviously everybody has different intentions. You can commodify pretty much anything, but at its core, you know, like art and nature and farming and stewardship, all these things kind of come together. And when they come together in this way, beautiful things happen. And this is a result of that. So, yeah. But I really wanted to convey a little bit more of the story, and obviously that has a lot to do with what the subjects are doing, and in this case, you know, it's a young family that's like really, really passionate about stewardship and about bringing something really special to the land. And so I kind of sort of set like a pretty like loose idea of like what I'm going to create, and just let the magic happen as it goes, if you will. And yeah, I mean, I developed these, not the photos themselves in this case, but the negatives with coffee. And so keeping that in mind, and keeping in mind that like I work with the land when I develop as well, I think just ended up resulting in a story that, you know, definitely incorporates the family, but also incorporates several elements that you wouldn't necessarily consider part of the body of work, you know. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Future of farming has that. I also feel like now more than ever, people really are passionate about where their food's grown, and they're so passionate about how their food is grown. People care, and even people who are visiting care so much, to the point where when they leave, they're still supporting our farm, and they're staying connected, and we're writing notes back and forth. And so I feel like that is such a great opportunity for us to connect with people who care. I think that's what farming is today, at least for us on our small scale level.
Maybe, I don't know, but it's just, like I said, it's very palpable, like coming onto your space and then talking to you guys and seeing like, wow, like you guys are very passionate about what you do, and it's very purpose driven, and it's very authentic. And I think that that's really important in today's age, especially where there is a lot of reality, and then another reality that happens a lot like online, let's say, you know, this is something that's like real, that you can't mask, or, you know, it's something that when you're there, you either feel it or you don't, and you can't feel it on your land. So
I feel like that's your art. Like you could have been describing your art, because you
maybe that's why it comes together so well. Yeah. Because it's like the same vibe kind of coming together, and
you can feel your art. And you feel like you're there. You can feel the authenticity of it and the intention, and you can feel the values that you bring to it. And I think that's why your art's so powerful. Thank you.
Wow, that's very flattering. But I appreciate that. That's definitely what I wanted to convey. And you know, this is the first time that I'm working with an institution like the Donkey Mill, and you know, as I grow as a photographer, and I, you know, am thinking about my work all the time, I'm always looking to find ways to connect deeper, especially when it comes to portraiture, you know. And so I think this made huge strides for me as an artist, in how I connect with people and in how I think about narrating bodies of work like this and like everything else. And I think it's really inspired me to, going forward, not only just create stuff like this, but find even more and deeper ways of connecting with people like you and your family, and bringing that story to other people so that they can feel that when they come here, you know. So it's more than just, wow, that's beautiful photo. It's more of just like okay, I'm there, I feel it, this makes me want to do something, which is hopefully a good thing.
My name is Kamuela Meheula. I'm born and raised in Kona, from this place, and I farm mostly kalo, currently in the ahupua of Honokohau Iki.
Yeah, aloha, my name is Hana Yoshihata, and I'm from Keho Mauka in Kona. And I make art in a lot of different ways, but I'd say my two main practices right now are making paintings with ocean water, and those kind of center around themes of canoe voyaging and celestial navigation, and then illustration, and in that I focus a lot in graphic novels and children's literature.
What motivates me and inspires me? The ono for kalo, for poi, for pa'i'ai, for luau, for aipa'a, like all of those kupuna foods, that ono, I think is a big part of what inspires me. And then, I think another thing that inspires me to grow kalo is there's so much to learn about kalo and farming in general. Everything's always changing. The plants are changing. The climate is changing. Our soils are changing, and you really have to learn how to adapt to all of those changes. And also my Kane farms with me. He's just as passionate about farming kalo as I am, and we motivate each other, and that really helps to keep us going, keep the fire lit.
Yeah, I'd say my greatest inspirations are from nature. So the stars, the ocean, the land, and my biggest motivation, at least in my painting practice right now, is to kind of explore our interconnectedness, both with each other, but also with the earth and with the universe, and to kind of look at what makes us human, but what also makes us nature. If, I was inspired in any way, in any direction, so I really had no idea exactly what I was going to do, if it was going to be a literal portrait of you or something more abstract. But after meeting you, I wanted it to be simple, but I wanted it to be focused on your connection with your kalo and with the land. So hopefully that came through.
So amazing. Being born and raised here in Kona, I really feel like we're one and the same. The āina is my ohana. Kona has shaped me my entire life, and it's really a family relationship to āina for me.
When I think about Kamuela and her farm and my first experiences going to see it and meet her, it made me think about a kipuka. So that's when the lava flows, but sometimes leaves little islands of terrain untouched. And in that same way, I feel like Kamuela and her farm, like against all the challenges and having to navigate in a world of capitalism and ongoing colonization, you're holding on to traditional plants and traditional knowledge and practices, and you're making sure that they're safe and that they're preserved for future generations. So that's what really hit me when I entered your property. It was just like a little safe haven for those things.
Wow, you make me cry. That's so beautiful. Like, I feel all of those things when I'm there, and how blessed I am to be there in that space, but I never thought of the word kipuka.
It popped up and I was like, oh, that's it. Like everything, like coming around you, and you just stay, you're fixed there. I'm gonna cry now. I think I wanted to fill your form with kalo in the same way that it kind of related back to that idea of a kipuka, of you being the vessel or, the safe carrier of that knowledge, and also in ideas of like mo'oku'auhau and lineage and what makes up a person, it's not just, it is, all of our ancestors and people, but also plants and the things that you carry with and yumalama. So that's kind of why I envision just you sort of being the carrier of kalo.
Mahalo. I try. I try my best. I think what I kind of learned from you too was that, you know, it's all a creative process. If it's āina or if it's a canvas or a piece of paper, it's this creative process that, you know, artists and aloha āina or mahi'ai enjoy to do, and that we really are creating this beauty for others to see, whether it's in the form of an art piece or poi or pa'i'ai, and I think we put all of our aloha into it and hope that the ono is just as good to the receiver. I think that was my kind of take on that artist and mahi'ai connection.
Yeah, like you were saying about the connections and similarities between farmers and artists, I think that we're both trying to grow things and that we're both trying to feed ourselves and our communities with plants or with ideas. And I think that we're all trying to plant seeds that will outlive us in our communities and in our you know, descendants as well. Recently, a good friend of mine who's also an artist wrote me a letter, and they were talking about how art can so much be a lived action and a verb. So they've been finding art a lot recently in growing plants. And so I think that I might be making art, but you're living it too, so.
We both are, just different forms of it, I guess,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, I mean, I was open to the whole thing. It's something I've never done, you know. So much of my focus is on ocean, and so many of my friends and things are ocean people. So it was exciting to get to meet with someone who really focuses and has that connection with land, and to see where that path can take me on developing a piece. And it was just so special to do that with you, and it was so authentic. So thank you. It was amazing.
I'm honored to have worked with you.
Thank you.
It's a special experience. Land is very expensive. So for people that want to farm, people of this place that want to farm, I think it's pretty difficult for them to get on a piece of quality land to farm and then be able to be a full-time farmer and make a living. So I think there's some challenges. I think that there's also a lot of good momentum going on in our state to try and push forward growing farmers and having, you know, much more local food available and for our communities. But this question makes me think about our past, and if we look to the ike of our kupuna, the ways of our ancestors, Kona is famous for the kuahewa, or the Kona field system, that Kamehameha, you know, highly cultivated during his time. And what would, you know, a 21st century field system, a 21st century kuahewa look like today in Kona? Yeah, that's I think my dream thought, if I can put that out there as a seed, planting a seed, and with the thought of feeding each other. Yeah, that's my mana'o for that one.
I would just hope that more people can do exactly what you're doing, and to expand upon that, and then have more access to land, especially for Native Hawaiians, and that people can have the opportunity to farm if they want to. And I think that, you know, should it happen over time, it can really transform a community. It made me think of a few years back in crew training for Hokula'a. And Auntie came in, I don't remember her name, but she asked us a question, and she asked us, when was the last time that you ate something that you pulled out of the ground? And most of us couldn't answer that. And, you know, that hit hard. It was like, oh, you know, like, I don't know. So if we could build a future where, you know, that was more of a normal thing and we had that, that would be amazing.
And I think that's so beautiful, you know, and that's really kind of where we are right now. Is a lot of our kids, our younger generations, are super disconnected from their food and where it comes from. I mean, they want everything now. You know, growing food is a process. It takes a long time. You gotta have plenty patience. But I think farming also, like, not only are we farming crops or kalo, but we're farming people to get back to the āina. And we need artists. We need, you know, tech filming people. We need everybody to be on that journey. So, mahalo.
That's beautiful.
Mahalo nui loa to the Kona Coffee Cultural Festival Committee, the Hawaii Community Foundation, and the Hawaii State Foundation on Culture and the Arts. And an extra special mahalo to all of our hardworking Kona farmers who malama āina and keep us fed and caffeinated year-round. Mahalo nui loa and ahui ho.